I'm Liz Brassaw. I'm the Chief Flight Instructor here at Thrustlight, and I've been soloing students since 2015. Yeah, a solo flight for a private pilot student is so beneficial. They now know for certain, right? They have the skills to fly this airplane alone. Their instructor believed it and they've proven it to themselves. It is required to become eligible for their check ride, so we have to do it at some point, right? It's mandated by the FAA. For the students in this program, it would be 5 hours that they have to complete, and there's a couple of sub-requirements with that. They also have to go on a solo cross-country, which means a solo flight to another airport over 50 miles away. But the students, from my perspective as an instructor, they grow so much when they take these flights. They gain a lot of confidence, and when they come back, it's almost like, where did you learn all this stuff? Or it's finally clicked, right? It's just such a wonderful motivator and milestone for them.
I was honestly really nervous. I felt like I really wasn't prepared, and I talked to my instructor about it, and he was just like, I wouldn't be sending you if you weren't ready. So that kind of gave me some reassurance, and on the actual flight, it felt really weird not having the instructor next to me, but as soon as I took off, I was like, wow, I'm actually flying this, and it actually felt pretty great.
Zero to Airline students solo typically right after their first stage check in the program, so that could be anywhere from 10 to maybe 25 hours of flight time. They take their stage 1 check, the assessment from a check instructor, and then the next lesson is first solo flight. It's a really exciting day. We talked about it's a big milestone for the student. What the student and instructor do is they depart from our home airport and they fly to another airport in our area, and the instructor then gets out of the airplane, hops out of the airplane, and the student does a couple of takeoffs and landings, usually 3 or 4, in the traffic pattern by themselves while instructor's standing on the ramp cheering, right? You're doing it. They come pick up their instructor and they fly home together. So just a really fun day for both of them.
After my solo, I was just like, wow, I just really did that. Like, I finished it. I had all these like bad feelings before flying, but then when I actually landed, I was like, wow, I can actually fly the plane by myself.
In the Zero to Airline program, we decide if students are ready to solo or not in 2 ways. The instructor that primarily trains them assesses them on skills, primarily takeoffs and landings, right? But also radio usage, recovery from stall procedures, emergency procedures, right? And they measure that student to see, are you independent on these tasks? Could you do this if I wasn't here, right? Then we submit them to the stage 1 check, or the first stage check, with a check instructor. So this is someone other than the student's primary instructor that does a similar assessment. They've got a list of skills they have to test that student's independence on. So we see that they could do basically the entire flight, from pre-flighting the aircraft to starting the engine to leaving the airport area and returning and making a successful landing without any assistance. If they can do that, they are ready to solo. So that day, myself as a check instructor, that day I feel like a passenger. I'm just along for the ride, and what would you do if I wasn't here, right? And in most cases, right, see a really competent and ready to solo student.
I honestly did not feel prepared before the solo. And I told my instructor that, and I also talked to my dad. He's in the airline, so he knows how it feels. He had like the training in the past, and he told me, you'll be fine, just calm down. Your instructor wouldn't be sending you if you weren't ready. It felt really nice talking to both of them, and they gave me reassurance for the solo.
Our students complete a lesson in their syllabus on their solo flights. So for the very first one, it's takeoffs and landings in the traffic pattern. The instructor's usually there standing on the ramp supervising them, right? The second solo, they will do unsupervised, which means instructor might meet them at the airport that day, but they don't go flying with them for that lesson, right, for that flight. They just send the student out from our home airport, and they go leave the airport area, they go out to the practice area, and they perform the skills on that lesson in the syllabus. In general, it doesn't include maneuvers or emergency procedures. It's usually more just basic practice of handling the aircraft. We figure there's enough risk in flying. We don't need to add emergencies on your first solo or second solo to it on top of it, right?
From my first solo, I learned that I can actually fly the plane by myself. And obviously the instructor is not there next to you, so you kind of have to figure out all the mistakes that you make. For me, it was the first landing. I kind of messed it up, but then the second and third ones were butter, so it felt pretty great to, just figure it out for yourself.